Greetings, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home, honorable former member here, Ron Kerr. It's Tuesday evening. Once again, we're here at the Hy-Vee Club Room at the west side of the store. I noticed last week I said west side of the square. Nobody corrected me. West side of the store at the end of the ice cream aisle. We're here every Tuesday evening, 7:45 to 9 o'clock, and would like to invite everyone to come on down and be with us. Here we do have some good pieces coming up tonight, good participation. I'm going to mention our mission, our club mission. And if you want to sing along, you can. The mission of a Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communications and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth. I want to give a hand to the gentleman up here in the corner who had all the words. So let's go ahead and clap on our mission. Yay! Okay. Cell phones, we want to make sure if you have one with you that it's off so that we're not disturbed. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and bring up our Toastmaster for the evening, Veda Royale. We're going to have a little change here. She's actually doing an icebreaker for her leadership pathway.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Tonight we have a meeting of meetings about dreams and ambitions, something that we could all aspire to. Madam President, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home, welcome to tonight's meeting. I have a quote here: "A dream without ambition is like a car without gas. You're not going anywhere." So our first role is going to be Dee Stouffer, who is the timer. Would you like to introduce yourself, Dee?
Hi,
Hold on, Dee. Wait for the camera.
So green, and then you have, it depends on the speech, you either have 2 minutes or 5 or 7 or 6. And then yellow is, you got a minute left. And then red, I always have a hard time with this. Red. You're done.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dee. Our counter, and if it is correct, possibly grammarian, is Peter Armstrong. Please announce your roles, Peter.
My role is grammarian, Mr. Toastmaster, and, excuse me, my role is a counter. And the grammarian position tonight will be handled by our esteemed colleague, Rick Starr. So, my responsibility as a counter is to pick up on the things such as which people say when they are on their feet and don't know what to say next. And like, you know, so, but, and, tongue click, Xerox, which means saying the same thing twice, and false start. I will be delivering a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Let's move directly on to our grammarian. For Rick, please.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My role as a grammarian is to listen to the language used by members during the meeting, make a note of any exceptionally good or bad uses of language, and give a brief report at the end of the meeting about what I heard and observed. And listen for the word of the day and report at the end of the meeting who used it most or at all. Today's word of the day is euphemism. Euphemism is the substitution of a mild phrase for one that is too harsh. An example is downsized is a euphemism for being fired. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rick. I would say that another euphemism is in Britain called being redundant, which I love. Oh my, I'm so redundant. It's not a good thing. Later in the meeting, we'll be having Carmen as the general evaluator to do her role, and I will be presenting a joke. We're going to talk about the prepared speeches right now. For the prepared speeches, we're going to have Janet being introduced by her evaluator, Jean.
Yay. David's here. Yay. All right. Good, good. Good. Have a seat. Janet has been living in Fairfield for 18 years. She's a licensed massage therapist, energy healing practitioner, a marketer, an activist. She is starting her path. It's the leadership path. We're all trying to get our feet wet. For those of us that are particularly officers, we're trying to get going so we can see how this works. So all the officers at least have committed to starting their path. So yay to Janet for doing that. The first project is an icebreaker. Something we've all done before, but now we've got a few extra, we got a little more time, and so maybe we'll do this better. The purpose statement, the purpose of this project for the member is to introduce herself to the club and learn the basic structure of a public speech. Her speech tonight, this icebreaker, is titled, "Boyfriends May Come and Go, Husbands May Die, and Life Changes, but Girlfriends Are Forever." And then a colon, "What I've learned through 3 important relationships." Please help me warmly welcome Janet Evertson to hear about
fellow Toastmasters, friends, guests, viewers at home. Welcome. I learned a lot from my best friends throughout my life. I want to give you a little history on some significant relationships and what I learned in each. Excuse my lint. The 3 friends are going to be Darlene, Paula, and Marilyn. Starting with Darlene. She was a friend in 5th and 6th grade, which is an awkward time for girls sometimes. And I just remember it was me and her and the world, and she was all I needed, and everything was great. And we used to dance the pony in the basement, if you remember.
Ooh.
Something like this. So that was fun for us, and everything was great. Now, in the summer, after 6th grade, I went with my Aunt Nettie to Grand Rapids, Michigan on a private shopping spree just for me, which was one of my most fond memories. We came from a large family, 7 kids, and all in private school. And my dad was a roofer, so there wasn't a lot of wardrobe going on. So I was treated to a day of shopping. We got a brand new pink dress, a little waistband here and pleats, a slip, and brand new shoes. So I was very happy on the first day of 7th grade because I knew what I was going to wear, and it was great. So I walk in to 7th grade, which is middle school. A whole different building and everything's brand new. And this one wonderful girl, Paula, invites me. She's like, come over, sit here, sit here. So I was like, great. I didn't know her at all. And for some reason, that happened. And then we became best of friends. We hung out. She invited me into the cool group, and I was an instant member of the cool group and left Darlene, sadly, in the dust. One thing I learned from that experience over the many years is that I could have been more considerate. Even though I was young and inexperienced and I didn't know what to do. I saw Darlene at the playground and I was just like, sorry, I've moved on. So she, I'm sure, dealt with it and ended up with a wonderful life, but I would have liked to have been more considerate, and I learned big time from that just by reflecting. So Paula was with me throughout high school, and we're still best friends. And she's an amazing person. I'm very grateful for her. I learned a big lesson from Paula, and that was what one simple turn can do for a person's life. Just to extend a hand or to invite somebody into your circle, and how important that can be. It was a simple, mindless thing to her, but yet it was a big game changer for me. Next significant relationship is Marilyn. I met her at Maharishi International University. We lived in the pods over by the railroad tracks, and we had a lot of great girls in there. Nancy Gibson was one. She's still here. And I wasn't that close with Marilyn, but I knew she was really cool, and I wanted to be close with her, but it was just through another friend that we knew each other. After college, we somehow ended up getting an apartment with another friend in Joliet, and then we really became close and have been that way ever since. So after about 6 months living there, and I would go downtown to my job, we decided to quit our jobs, pack up our apartment, and go to the Amherst World Peace Assembly and worry about details later. And we had a lot of fun, did that, came home, thought we'll live with our parents. And they were like, oh yeah? We're gonna charge you a lot of money for that. Because they wanted us to know you don't just take off. So we refused to learn anything, and we just got out of there as soon as we could, got an apartment, had a blast. And she stuck with me through everything. We lived in downtown for 10 years, till she had to move back home again. And then I got my own apartment. Later I got married. She didn't like the guy that much, but she put up with it, and we stayed friends. She visited. She was part of my life through that. And then after he died 10 years later, I spent 2 years in Chicago and then moved here. And that was another big abandonment for Marilyn. But she hung in there through that as well. What I would say about Marilyn is that she was the most continual thread who has woven through my life and has always been there for me, and I know she always will. I wonder if her day comes before me, what I will do. We do annoy each other occasionally, but we let it go. That's been our pattern. In my old age, I'd like to deal with the issues more and go back and forth and really take it to the clarity level, but I don't feel she's ready for that, so I'm still kind of treading water on that. I don't want to rock the boat too much for her. I know her parents fought a lot, and it triggers bickering to her. And I think there's a difference between bickering and working things out. So that's my final lesson, is still working on with Marilyn, is to be brave enough and take a risk to deepen our communication and not be afraid that someone will get upset and run away. It's more important to me, I discovered through writing the speech, to have true communication, because I really no longer hold on to anything out there. Since I have had a lot of loss in my life and gotten through it, I realize if it's just me and there's nobody else in the whole wide world, it's okay. So that's a great lesson of strength. So I plan to develop deeper understanding with Marilyn and enjoy that as my final lesson, although I'm sure there will be more.
Thank you, Janet. Now we'll take 2 minutes to evaluate. Timer, please do 2 minutes to evaluate Janet's speech. Thank you for the break, and please hand the short evaluation forms to Janet after the meeting. I'm going to be now calling up the general evaluator to introduce the evaluator of this evening. Carmen is the general evaluator for tonight. Could you please come forward, Carmen?
So I'm going to introduce Jean, and she's going to be the evaluator. Janet. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Very good. Okay. Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home, honored guest, and especially Janet. Such an improvement in the overall presentation compared to previous talks. I'm just going to say it just felt more cohesive, felt more organized, simpler to understand and follow. Really very good. I'm going to give some general comments. I didn't quite finish, but the general comments. So one of the pieces is you excelled at, and I'm just going to say your personal stories that illuminated the lessons that you were learning, and which in turn were the messages that you wanted to give to us. Stories, it's hard to go wrong with those personal stories. You also had good word choice. There was a thread woven through my life. I didn't quite catch, unfortunately don't have examples here, but I just felt like there were some nice clauses that I liked. Just wasn't writing fast enough to get them all down. But again, that speaks to preparation, being able to have the time to really digest what you want to say, how you want to say it. Things that you may want to work on. Again, evaluation is just an opinion of the evaluator. So if it resonates for you, great. If it doesn't, it's okay. I was noticing a number of sentences starting with so and linking with and. Sentences themselves were absolutely fine. So you want to just chop off the so and chop off the and put a period. And then you're good. Okay. Probably a little bit of nerves sometimes. You just want to keep, it's the filler word phenomenon. Also the conclusion, I don't know where you were in terms of time. You may have been trying to pull it down, and that can happen. The best conclusion would have been a really quick reprise of the 3 lessons learned. Darlene, Paula that, Marilyn this, and I hope that as I continue down this road, I can incorporate the lessons I've learned and continue to build something that just brings us home. Okay. To challenge yourself. I think you made, and I know I spoke with you ahead of time, I think you've made some excellent steps forward. You made progress for getting prepared and organized prior to when the speech is being delivered. And I'm hoping that you noticed it was more fun, and it was also more fulfilling to give it that way, because you're actually resonating with your own message in a more effortless way if you've practiced and prepared and gotten it organized. And that's for everybody. It's just the way it works. Fun is, we just want to have fun around here and also be effective. Also would say, keep it simple. Just keep it simple and structured. I know when we spoke, you had a lot of material that you then took out, and that's what a rough draft is for. But I think your speech really benefited from cutting it out. So we had 3 main friends, and we were all able to follow that. And that was really helpful. That was a Xerox right there. And you want your audience to understand, because that's the whole point. You want us to follow. I think, Janet, what I'd like to do is, now Dee, are you timing me 2 to 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to fill in these extra little points here on the back, and I'll make some more notes. But overall, just a quantum jump in speech effectiveness. So I really appreciate that. I look forward to hearing more. You're a fountain of experience, and I look forward to learning from it. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, and then or should I call you up?
I think it would be best to call her back up, but it's either way, your call.
Should we let her bring up the table topics master, or would you like her to bring you up and then? We can use exercise around here. I mean, if we're hopping up and down.
I will come back up.
Okay,
That's okay.
okay. So Madam General Evaluator, thank you very much. Yeah, okay. Okay, good.
Now let's receive to better.
Toastmaster, all right. Yeah.
I'm not going to try and straighten out during this meeting, but I think the problem becomes much earlier in the process than what just happened. We should always try to take control and give it back to the same person. But it's been a while, it seems, since this club has done that. So we're going to, and that goes back until the last century. I think having the general evaluator is a great role. It does get confusing when they take up such a large part of the meeting and then we don't have more than one speaker.
You're welcome back in at this point. That's
The table topics is by Jean, and she'll be giving them now.
Oh, actually, we delegated it out to Ron.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I've just been told that our former Toastmaster, and has he rejoined?
Not yet.
Not yet, but our former guest, our former Toastmaster and guest for tonight will be doing the table topics for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home. I was asked to, if I'd be happy to do this, and I am. And I was given the 2 keywords were between ambition and desire. And what I've realized over time is we tend to take a lot of words for granted, and it compromises communication because we think we all know what it means. So I figured I'd start with definitions of both words. And what I've done is I've got 2 lists. I've got a stack from one from ambition and one from desire. So this is the question. So if you have an ambition to talk about your ambitions, that's fine. But if you're desiring to talk about your desires, that's fine. But if you have a desire to talk about your ambitions, I think we got you covered. Ambition, a strong desire to do or to achieve something, typically requiring determination and hard work. I'm not wild about the hard work anymore. It just, too many people are just beating themselves to death. Hard work, it shouldn't have to be hard. It should be a joy, and it should be relatively simple and easy. There's one of these lies that we've been, oh, unless you die and killing yourself, you can't get anywhere. The heck with that. You get to the grave faster. No. Okay, no editorializing. Desire, strong feeling of wanting to have something or wishing for something to happen. Wishing for something to happen. Strongly wish or want something. When you come up, again, based on your desire or ambitions, you'll take one of these and you'll be ready to go. Who would like to be first?
Ron, will you read the questions so that this was brought up so that it
Okay.
doesn't count into the time?
Oh, yeah, sure, okay. Well, hand it to me?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you come on up, you hand me the thing, I'll read it out loud for you, and then like it anyway. Who's first? Peter.
Before we read that, could you read the definitions again one more time?
Sure. Ambition, a strong desire to do or to achieve something, typically requiring determination and hard work. Desire, strong feeling of wanting to have something or wishing for something to happen. Strongly wishing or want something. Any of your choices? Ambitions and desires.
Am I supposed to
Just take one and I'll read it out loud. So it doesn't count in your
get to read them before I take them? That's novel.
Oh, well,
That would be nice. No, you have to shut your eye and go.
I guess so.
all right. Peter's chosen desire. Share with us your strong desire to make something happen. Can I have that paper, please?
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home. This question phases me just a little bit because the definition of desire says, I want something to happen that's wonderful to me. And this is implying that I've got to go out and make it happen, which I thought was the other one, which was the ambition. So in order to make this desire happen, I have to also exhibit ambition. Okay, I can live with that. There are so many things that I'd like to have happen for the world, for myself, for whatever. But what I really need to do, first thing, is to go through a step of taking care of the physical body. And that's going to involve some going out, getting some tests, blood tests, for all kinds of things, 20 or 30 different things, and seeing what the scores are, and then if there are any objects or readings that are, Dee, could you tell me when it's actually supposed to be green instead of, it's just yellow now? Okay, this is a short topic, right? Okay, moving right along. Want to find out where I stand. And this is all in relation to a risk factor that I found I had recently, which is a 30% risk factor for getting Alzheimer's because I have a particular gene. And the nice thing about this, though, if there's anything nice about it, is that there are treatments coming for Alzheimer's. They're in the works, and there's no reason to fear that disease as a one-way ticket to nowhere anymore. And so that's on my list, and that's kind of up there, because the sooner I start, the sooner I'm done, and the more effective the treatment is. Thank you.
Peter made a good point. It's a little bit hard to separate ambition from desire. Sorry about that.
You don't need to be sorry, it's just.
Okay.
It's the language.
And who would like to be next?
Ambition.
Arthur, come on.
You can give it to Ron if you want him to read it.
Has my desire to accomplish some goal fueled my efforts to fulfill that goal? Am I reading correctly?
Would you like me to read it also, and then, so we'll be on your time, and then. How has your desire to accomplish some goal fueled your efforts to fulfill that goal?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home, and Mr. Tabletopic's master. My answer to this question is going to resemble Peter's answer to a similar question. One of my very strong desires is to be able to stand up straight and to actually walk like a normal adult human being. This is proving to be an elusive desire for me, an elusive goal. Because in my body right now, the balance of neurotransmitters is all out of whack because of a disorder that has left my body very short of one neurotransmitter called dopamine, which is generally thought to control both mood and motor skills, movement. But it also controls posture. And you'll see that I'm not standing up straight right now. If I put a tremendous amount of effort into it, I can stand erect, but I can't actually maintain that properly while I'm walking, because my sense of balance is heavily impaired. So how has my desire to do this directed my, well, the question, I'm losing the details of the question. How have my actions been guided by my desire to accomplish this goal? Today I walked 7 laps in the Cambridge Rec Center, wearing a backpack containing about 15 pounds worth of weights, the net effect of which is to counterweight my tendency to pitch forward when I stand up, and to allow me to walk in some semblance of normal human locomotion. This is one practice I've adopted, and still others involve consuming medicines and nutritional supplements, and sleeping at night with my feet heavily elevated. Everything that I'm doing these days is oriented around balance and locomotion. I'm puzzled by the lighting system, which goes from green to red and back again. Mr. Tabletop Master.
Thank you, Arthur. Okay, who's next? Please, join us. So we have our, you can just grab anyone. These are the desired ones here. And these are the ambitions. So if you feel ambitious, grab one of those. But if you got a desire,
Don't need 'em.
it's okay. Okay. Why don't you read it to yourself and I'll read it out loud. Peter's chosen ambition. What grand ambition do you have for the future?
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. I'm really grateful for this wonderful opportunity. As I've been sitting over there and contemplating on the meaning of desire and ambition, I think the desire is a grassroots of ambition, where you have the wish list, and once it turns stronger, when it gets into action, and that's where we call ambition. I mean, that was my own personal contemplation. Talking about what's my future ambition. So I always had this desire to help people, and especially the kids. From the place where I'm from, I've seen a lot of struggle, poverty, and I always thought, what is that I can provide for the society, where it can be stable, it can go for a very long time. That was my very desires, but I didn't know how it can turn into a real ambition. But over the years, out of my experience, I had a strong desire, which was a wish list, turned into a stronger desire, where I want to actually provide the education. I thought you can give money to anyone, but people can steal that away. But the way we can really help out the kids to come out of poverty and to remain stable is to provide education. And that strong desire helped me to go about educating myself. And also, this has been a desire for my wife also, where we've been actually sharing the common grounds, and she's been educating herself. And she, just about a week ago, she got a doctorate, a PhD in electrical engineering, and I'm on the way of getting my master's. So we thought this is the way where we can go about giving back to the society and educating people, where we can educate, but education is something you cannot rob. It stays with them forever, and whatever or wherever they are, they'll be able to actually elevate themselves with education. This is my ambition, and I'm very positive and hopeful that I'm going to achieve this. And I pray that with the support of all the well-wishers and good people in the world, that I go about accomplishing that. Thank you.
You got, I'm next written all over you, Janet. Come on. Oh, that's it?
Oh, we're out of time.
Check the schedule.
Would have done it.
Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay.
Thank you, Ron, but for those wonderful and challenging. Luckily, I avoided that one. But we're here to learn how to think on our feet. That certainly was the case. I will be calling up the general evaluator. Hold on, we have to make sure that we get the timing. Getting lost a little bit here. Please tell us in the timing just mention who has qualified, the names of everyone who is qualified in table topics
Janet?
for the speech.
Huh?
Janet for the
Oh,
speech.
table topics. Art qualified and David qualified.
Okay, so Art qualified and David qualified. Who did not qualify?
Are you allowing 30 seconds after red for someone to qualify?
After what?
Are you
After the
allowing
red light.
2 minutes and 30 seconds? Are you,
30 seconds.
so did everybody, who did not come, who went over 2:30?
No one.
So then who qualified?
They all qualified.
And then is that, how many people spoke?
Sorry?
Could you mention the name of all the speakers who qualified?
The gentleman just went. David. And David.
David
And Art.
and Art, what about Peter?
What about Peter?
Huh?
Peter, did Peter qualify?
Yes.
Okay, so David, Art, and Peter
Yeah.
all qualified, and we can vote for best table topics now.
We can announce it
We're
later
going-
after the evaluation.
We can, but I'm going to have a question of protocol for the president. Shouldn't the general evaluator be calling up the evaluations, all of them, including the table topics evaluation?
I mean, we can do that, we should talk because, you know, we're probably doing it a little differently from.
No, what I'm saying is that you just had me call her up another
I know, because
evaluator.
I knew that you kind of wanted, so what would you like to do? You're the Toastmaster, I will let you do what you'd like to do.
Okay, well, I'd like to know if Carmen is available to conduct the evaluation portion of the meeting, which is the large chunk right now.
Yeah, she wanted the rest.
Yes.
Okay,
So Carmen, you'll be doing from here on down, getting the evaluation from table topics down through all the evaluations and reports.
okay.
Would you like to follow that? You have that?
I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So as a general evaluator, my role is to evaluate how is today's meeting. Are you ready?
No, no.
Still, you're gonna call up our table topics.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So right now I call him because, okay. So this is my first time doing that.
Oh.
So I never did it in my life. So please excuse my mistakes. Now the great and the only one then is he's the table topic evaluator.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. We had 3 very interesting table topics tonight. The challenge that they had was that the questions were not little surface questions, they were deep. And it was even more impressive that they could deliver as well as they did. Our first speaker was Peter. He was asked if he had a strong desire to make something happen. He did a number of good things leading off. He took 30 seconds to think it through. He greeted the audience. He gave a good clarification of his own mental thinking about desire versus ambition. And he began to tell us a story about the reason that he's going to go through some tests to investigate something that he's found out that he's susceptible to. All very strong. The one thing I noticed that I'd suggest that you might want to work on is between gestures, which were good, natural, you had sort of an awkward resting pose. It seems to me like any time we clasp our hands together as we're speaking, it's a little less engaging. Pretty small point. But you also had a very good wrap up, so very strong job. Our second speaker was Art.
asked if he had a desire to accomplish a goal through, if his desire to accomplish a goal had fueled his efforts. He gave us a very strong talk. I want to particularly note for Art that you had a good, strong voice to give us your points. Very nice. You were telling us a very personal story about the challenge that is facing your life at this point. And I can't think of a single way you could have improved it. You were so open with us, so clear about this huge thing that you're facing, not hiding from the seriousnness of it, but inviting us to share it with you. And just a very touching and beautiful job. One of the best table topics that I've seen in a long time. Our last speaker was David. Congratulations to David. We dragged you up in front. And you did a very nice job. You seemed relaxed up here. You greeted the audience like an old Toastmaster pro. You explained that you have a desire to help people and about wanting to help kids out of poverty. A noble goal. Explained how you and your wife are going about that. Two little things I'll mention to you that you might want to think about. You had some good natural gestures. As you get more used to speaking in front of the room, you might want to make them bigger. Bigger and slower. It sort of brings in the people with you when you do that. And speaking of slower, you had many, many good things, interesting things to say, but you did have a tendency to talk pretty fast. You knew you had limited time, you wanted to get it all in, that's very natural. But just be aware that your pacing affects the interaction of your speech with your audience. But very, very good job. We look to many more from you. Thanks. Madam General Evaluator, I'm going to ask you back up.
Okay, for the timer of the evaluators, are we okay? For table topics, evaluation,
Evaluations.
oh,
Evaluations.
they don't qualify?
Yeah, and Jean.
Okay, both qualify, that's good. So you can vote for the best evaluator right now. Right now, I'm gonna call for the reports. Timer,
Go for grammarian.
okay.
CC's.
The grammarian,
Rick Star.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I heard examples of the good use of language. Janet said Madeline was a continuous thread wound through my life. Peter, there's treatments coming for Alzheimer's. There's no reason to consider Alzheimer's as a one-way ticket to nowhere. Art, everything I'm doing is related to balance and locomotion. And David, you can give money to anyone, but people can steal it away. Education stays with someone forever. No uses of word of the day, Madam General Evaluator.
the counter,
Peter?
That would be me.
Pretty good effort tonight. Peter, at the very beginning, one ah. Janet, 2 ahs, or uhs, I'm not sure which, 2 so's, 2 ands, and a borderline but. Kind of but. Jean, 1 Xerox. Veda, I didn't notice anything. Ron, clean. Art, clean. And David, I noticed some 5 or 6 ahs or uhs. I think they were uhs. And as an ah sufferer myself, I understand completely. And that is my report.
Now I greet the joke master. Today is Veda Roger.
I've been diligently working on my jokes from the newest device in the universe, the phone, which I assiduously try to hide from the powers that be. So I'm not really on my phone here. I'm just on my joke pages. It asks you about ambition and dreams today. So I tried to get on that subject, but I also got a lot of things that were more in the medical field. Teacher, what do you want to be in the future? Juan, I want to be a lawyer. Thomas, I want to be a policeman. Mary, I want to be a mother. And what do you want to do, Jose? I want to help Mary. Let's get rid of that page and go down to government officials don't have a very good reputation, I guess. So a government official went to a doctor and complained of being unable to sleep. Oh, don't you sleep at night? Oh, yes, I sleep at night very well. I sleep soundly most of the morning, too, but I find it difficult to sleep in the afternoon. And here's a question, riddle. What do you give a man who has everything? Antibiotics. A physician said, high blood pressure. A physician said, high blood pressure. And the patient says, I think it comes from your family history. Do you think it's your mother's side or your father's side? Neither, the patient replied. It's from my wife's family. How could it possibly come from your wife? You haven't met my wife's family.
Okay, that's
1 minute.
Good one.
Yeah, good. That's good though.
So that's the joke portion and comment. You have to get those times, time limits.
He's ready. Yeah.
So now is report from the timer B.
Everyone qualified.
But you want to read the name and the time. Each one.
So Janet was, oh no, I'm sorry, Janet was over 7:19. Art qualified, David qualified, yeah.
Give name and time.
So we
Yeah.
want to know the time of each person.
Oh, I
Pick
didn't,
it up, Dee. Just pick
I
it
didn't write, so it was, Art was 2 minutes. I'm sorry, I didn't write the time down,
up.
but they both qualified.
Okay, so they were.
Yeah, they were both qualified, I didn't write the time down. I don't remember what the time was, it was under the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Today, I am the general evaluator. My role is to evaluate today's meeting. And as Jean said to me, I have to evaluate the evaluators. So, that's what I did. And let's start with Jean. You evaluate Janet, and you had really good positive remarks. You were talking about word choices, and they were well explained when I heard your speech. The conclusion, the wrap up for me was pretty good. You had always a good understanding of objectives, of what you are looking for in a speech. My suggestion is that you are always great at giving advices to all of us. But you said that you heard so and and too often, and I didn't hear that. For me, the speech was smooth. It's just a suggestion. For me, the organization was pretty good. And she was prepared because she was having those cards and she was choosing in a manner that it was like a frame. And in order, if you don't want to forget something in the middle of a speech, and I totally understand. So for me, it was well organized, even though for you requires more practice. At the same time, when you were giving the suggestion, you were giving too many details. I know you were taking your time, but some details were like a little bit of grammarian jobs you were telling us, a little bit of the counter, a little bit of many duties. And then I almost forgot to pick up the main pieces. So it was great, but at the same time it was too much. And for Dean, you were the table topics evaluator. You were pretty good at clarifying that Ron's had deep questions, and they were deep questions actually for table topics. Also, you were looking for the gestures, which is pretty good, and you always, and this one really, you told me also to make big gestures instead of little ones like this, right? And I remember that. And ARC, I love your table topic when you speak table topics because it's something that is pretty personal and we can learn. I know that you sometimes go over the time, but actually, when you are with a story, you have to finish it. After 5 minutes, if you have to finish in 7, we are gonna listen it anyway because it's so interesting. So I think it was great. It has always been great to have you as a speaker in table topics. At the same time, for Dean, Dan, I think your suggestions for David were pretty good. And I noticed that you have a lot in your mind to communicate, which is great, because sometimes people, they don't have a lot, but they are trying to communicate. But it was really, really good, the flow of your speech. And it was really impressive because you are just like a new, maybe you are thinking about to become a new member. We always welcome, and we will be very happy to have you here. That's it. Thank you. The Toastmasters.
Thank you, Carmen, for that wonderful and thorough job. My task now is to give the meeting awards. And the first award I'm going to give, although it may not be as formal as it used to be, I'd still like to give this award because I saw Janet do a lot of work. So to Janet, please come around and get your icebreaker and icebreaker ribbon. Next, we're going to give the award for Best Table Topics. A drum roll, please. Arthur. And Dan predicted that one well. He said, one of the best he's seen, not just from Art, but from anybody. So the next award is not going to Dan, it is going to Jean as Best Evaluator.
Oh.
So thank you, it's been a wonderful evening, and I'm going to turn the meeting back to Jean, the president.
Great, thank you. Very good, we're just about there. Couple of points, just want to make. Everyone have a good time so far? Lots of good things that we learned. It's just always fascinating. There's always new things that we learn about ourselves and about our guests, and it just never gets old. Anyway, I'm glad we had this meeting tonight. Couple of points. I just want to, first of all, I want a round of applause congratulating Carmen for her first time at a very challenging role, which is the general evaluator. And not, actually, we're not, it's not very common, I can't get it out. It's not very common that the general evaluator evaluates the evaluators. But we in this club have decided that we want evaluators to get evaluated because that's how we get better at evaluation. And Toastmasters says that evaluation is the foundation of Toastmasters. So it's really important that we get good at it. I'm going to use just a quick bit from Carmen to use as an educational piece, which is, and it's very tricky, is that when you're the general evaluator and you're evaluating the evaluators, you don't want to slip into evaluating the speech or the table topics that the evaluator was evaluating. It's a slick kind of banana peel that you can end up evaluating the person again. You want to keep focused on how did the evaluator evaluate. And Carmen, you did that, most of it, but there was a little bit of a slide into evaluating Art some more and it was hard, great table topics and evaluating David some more. So that's where you just want to keep it focused on the evaluator. It's a really kind of higher abstract level of thinking, and it's good for our brains. So let's just make sure we do that and keep track of that. But really, and I threw that at you just when you came up, it's on top of everything else. But does your brain feel good now? Yes. So we're all about not only having fun, but we also want to feel good. And so brains that are feeling good, that is a positive result. Okay. Janet, does your brain feel better? Does it feel good?
Yeah.
Okay. David, how does your brain feel? Okay. Kind of good. Pulsing a little bit. Yeah. Good. All right. So everybody, good. Enjoy that brain buzz. Is that a word? Brain buzz. That's a euphemism for increased blood flow in the brain, resulting in chemicals that make you feel good. Okay. Housekeeping detail. We're all responsible for helping put the room away. Dee is our sergeant at arms, and he oversees the process. But if we all just stay and take 5 minutes, if it needs 10 minutes, we do that. But we all chip in, it goes much faster, and then we all get out at the same time. Okay, so let's just make sure we're doing that. Since we're ending sooner anyway, we should be able to do that. Okay. Any business that we need to bring up? We're really at the end, so I'm really dying to just, do this here, hammer. Okay. All right, so let's call the meeting adjourned. Next week, Peter, do we have any speeches that we're doing next week?
I don't think so.
Dan?
Oh, Dan, that's right.
Dan is, okay. Good. All right, so we're set. Please talk to Peter if you have anything else that we need to schedule you for. And on that note, the meeting is adjourned.